Okay, I'm going to get started by welcoming everyone. Welcome to Wat Tung. Nice to see everyone here this morning. Welcome to everyone who's joining us online as well. Today is what we call our group learning program, where I come together each Sunday and Wednesday, helping students to be able to understand the path to enlightenment. We start each one of our classes with meditation, and then afterwards on Wednesdays, what I do is I just share a little bit of the teachings of the Buddha with you guys, and then mainly open up to any and all questions that you guys might have. On Sundays, I go chapter by chapter in this book, helping students to be able to understand the path to enlightenment through this text. This Sunday, we're going to be in chapter 22, which is titled Mental Health, a Modern Day Delusion. This is where it helps you to be able to understand things like depression, bipolar disorder, anorexia, bulimia, ADHD, ADD. All these things can actually be resolved through training the mind. This individual that we refer to as the Buddha figured out over 2,500 years ago how to get to enlightenment. What enlightenment is where the mind's completely peaceful, calm, serene, and content with joy. This is accomplished through training of the mind. There aren't any rites, rituals, ceremonies, worship, and prayer associated with the teachings of the Buddha. If you're seeing those kinds of things associated with his teachings, they aren't his actual teachings. He never taught any rites, rituals, ceremonies, worship, or prayer. Everything that he taught is about training your mind and developing your mind, getting to this point where you don't experience any anger, sadness, frustration, irritation, annoyance, guilt, shame, fear, stress, anxiety, loneliness, boredom, shyness, resentment, jealousy. You can eliminate all of that through training the mind. Oftentimes people think it's the outside world that's causing these feelings, but it's actually what's going on within your own mind, and you can actually train it to be able to eliminate the causes and conditions that are producing these feelings, thus getting to the point where the mind's completely peaceful and joyful. So meditation is an important part of that. So that's why we start each one of our classes with meditation, but you wouldn't be able to just meditate your way to enlightenment. This is one of the biggest myths about the life story of the Buddha. People think that he sat under a tree, he meditated, and then instantly got to enlightenment. This isn't actually true. It was gradual training, gradual practice, and gradual progress that it took for him to get to enlightenment. It took him 6 years to be able to train his mind to get to that point where he was actually enlightened. So I'm going to start with meditation, and you guys are welcome to join in if you like. The way that I start this is I start with some chanting to be able to ease the mind into meditation and get more benefit out of the meditation itself. If you would like to chant along, we have chanting sheets over there on the cabinet. You're welcome to help yourself, and yeah, you're welcome to get one if you like, and you can chant along in the chants if you like. During the lifetime of the Buddha, he used chanting as a way to help his students to commit the teachings to memory. Every 2 weeks, his students would come together and they would recite his teachings orally. So you can see from the origins of chanting that this was used as a learning tool or as a learning device. This isn't anything mystical or magical. This isn't a prayer. It's not worship or anything like that. As I mentioned, during the lifetime of the Buddha, it was used as a learning tool or as a learning device, where today we use it as a way to ease the mind into meditation and get more benefit out of the meditation itself. So if you choose to chant along, you'll see that it'll actually help you prepare your mind for meditation. If you end up getting one of those chanting sheets, you're going to see the English translations. There's a lot of appreciation, gratitude, and respect for the Buddha built into these chants. And because of that, I don't think the Buddha even created these chants himself, because the Buddha wouldn't have walked around and said, here, chant these chants to me out of respect for me. This would be ego or arrogance if someone chose to do this. The mind, by the time you get to enlightenment, no longer has ego. You don't think of yourself as being above people or below people. Instead, you just think about everybody as being equal. So the Buddha wouldn't have walked around and said, here, chant these chants to me out of respect for me. But instead, if you learn from a teacher how to move from anger, sadness, frustration, and all these other feelings to this peaceful and joyful mental state that is enlightenment, you might actually have a lot of appreciation, gratitude, and respect for this teacher too. Because the Buddha was just helping people out of the kindness of his heart. He didn't have to do this. He wasn't required to do it. He just chose to help people out of compassion for them. So if you learn from a teacher like that and you actually got to this enlightened mental state, you might actually have a lot of appreciation and gratitude for that person too. So that's why I think these chants actually came from his students, either during his life or after his death. Once we're in the meditation, I'm going to be providing you some guidance where I'm essentially going to be teaching you and instructing you how to meditate while we're actually meditating together. Then there's going to be a period of time where it's just quiet and we're all meditating. Everyone here at the temple, everyone who's joining online, we'll just all be meditating at the same time. Now, during this period of time of quietness, I'm sure you're going to hear occasional sounds. You might hear a car go by, a dog barking, a bird chirping, someone here might cough or sneeze. This is all normal. If you're in meditation with a craving for permanent silence and you hear a sound, you'll cause your mind to be annoyed or frustrated. This is what's causing all of these discontent feelings, is that in the unenlightened state, the mind craves permanence. While you live in an impermanent world, things are constantly changing. So you're not going to be able to be in an environment where it's permanently quiet during meditation. So if you're in meditation with a craving for permanent silence and you hear a sound, you'll cause your mind to be annoyed or frustrated or agitated or some other discontent feeling. But if you understand that the world around you is constantly changing, that it is impermanent, then you'll understand that these sounds arise, they change, and they fade away. This is the way the world was intended to function. So if you're in meditation and you hear a sound, you can just understand that, that's the way the world is actually functioning. It's impermanent. Things are constantly changing. So after that period of time of quietness, we're going to come out of that with some more chanting. And then that's where I'll just start today's class. I'll just share a bit of the teachings of the Buddha with you, but mainly open up to whatever questions you guys might have. In terms of your body position for meditation, there's 4 positions that the Buddha taught: seated, lying, standing, and walking. And you would learn these different positions at different times as part of your journey to enlightenment. It's kind of like having a tool belt, and you use the different tools that you need at different times. So we have various classes, courses, and retreats to help students learn all the different teachings, including the different positions for meditation. But since oftentimes people are starting in the seated position, let me share some guidance with you on the seated position that'll just help you kind of get started. What I'm going to share with you are just suggestions or recommendations. You can sit however you like. There's not just one fixed way to actually sit. If there was just one fixed way to sit, that would be permanence. And we don't live in that world. We live in an impermanent world where everybody's body is different and we're going to find different things to be comfortable. So you can sit however you like. You can use what I'm going to share with you as recommendations or suggestions, whether you use something that I share or whether you come up with something on your own. You can sit however you like. So you might be choosing to sit on the floor or in a chair. If someone's at home, you might be on a bench or in a sofa or in a wheelchair. You can sit however you like. But if you're on the floor, you might consider having some cushions under your rear. This will help soften your seat a bit. And if you're going to bring your legs together in the cross-leg position, you might just choose to do that lightly. Whereas if they're real tight, this can impede the circulation in your lower body and cause pain. Some people like to put their legs off the mat. This gets your hips up in the air and it lessens the angle at the hips, the knees, and the ankles, allowing the circulation to flow. The Buddha put his right hand over his left with his thumbs together, and he put this into his lap. If this is comfortable for you, you could use it, but it's really up to you. There's other options here too. There's not just one fixed way to actually sit. So you could probably put your hands on your thighs or your knees. Some people like to put their hands up. Some people rest their hands comfortably in their lap. So you could put your hands and arms wherever you like. And the same thing is true for anybody who's in a chair or a bench or a sofa or a wheelchair. You can also sit however you like. Some people like to put their feet flat on the floor or lightly cross at the ankles, but you can see me sitting here in a chair with my legs crossed, so this is an option for you as well. And then in terms of your upper body, what would be helpful here is if your sternum was up and your shoulders are back, because this is going to help keep the mind attentive and alert during the meditation. What meditation is a dedicated, active, purposeful training session where you're eliminating certain unwholesome qualities from the mind and you're cultivating certain wholesome qualities in the mind. So you'd like the mind to be attentive and alert during the meditation. Whereas if you were slouched like this, the mind would have a tendency to be dull or lethargic. But if you were real rigid with the upper body, the mind could be overactive or uptight. So you'd like the upper body to be erect with the sternum up and the shoulders back, because not only will it keep the mind attentive and alert during the meditation, but it also help you to breathe in through the nose and out through the nose. So I'm going to get started with some chanting. As I mentioned, you guys are welcome to join in, and then I'll come back in with the guidance afterwards. Arahang Samma Sambuddho Mahakawa Bhutang Mahakavanang Apivateyami Savakato Mahakavata Tammo Dhammang Namasami Supatipano Mahakavato Savaka Sangho Sanghang Namami Namo Rasa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Rasa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Rasa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Iti piso Mahakawa Arahang Samma Sambuddho Vicacaranang Sambuddho Sakato Rokawitu Anutero Purisa Dhamma Sati Satatawa Manusarang Bhutto Bhagavati. Okay, with the lower body and hands and arms comfortable, and the upper body erect, just close the eyes and start breathing in through the nose and out through the nose. Here you're just looking to establish the breath. A nice, natural, steady, consistent breath. Not forced or controlled. Just a gradual inhale through the nose, experiencing the full breath. And then whenever you're ready, exhale out through the nose. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. Your breath may not match up with the guidance that I'm providing, and that's okay. This is your practice. I'm just here for guidance. You can use this voice as a reminder that whenever you get to the next inhale, breathing gradually through the nose, developing a nice, natural, steady, consistent breath. And then, whenever you're ready, exhale out through the nose, experiencing the full breath. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. With the breath well established, start fixating the mind on the breath, either the sound of the breath coming into the nose or the sensation of air moving over the skin into the nose. The breath is the present moment. Fixate the mind on the breath, the present moment. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. With the mind fixated on the breath, whenever you notice that it moves off the breath, cut that off, let it go, and come back to the breath, the present moment. No need to observe the thought, label it, judge it, analyze it, or even try to figure out where it's coming from. Whenever you notice that the mind is moved off the breath, cut that off, let it go, and come back to the breath, the present moment. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. I'm going to be quiet now and let you do this work of focusing on the breath, cutting off and letting go anytime the mind moves off the breath. You have nowhere to go. There's nothing to do. No one needs you right now. This is your time to focus on the breath. Breathing in and out. อะระหังสัมมาสัมพุทโธมหาเกวาโหตังมหาเกวันนังอภิวาเตมิ สวากขาโตมหาเกวตาตัมโมดามังนามาสามิสุปฏิปันโนมหาเกวโตสาวกสังโฆสังฆังนามามินะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะอิติปิโสมหาเกวาอะระหังสัมมาสัมพุทโธวิชาจารนังสัมมุโนสกาโตโรกาวิตุอนุเตโรปุริสาดามาสติสัตตาตาวามนุสนังพุทโธภาควาติ Okay, if you guys would like to slowly make your way out of meditation. Once again, good morning to all of you guys. Nice to see everyone here this morning. Welcome to everyone who's joining online as well. This is called breathing mindfulness meditation. This is a primary form of training that the Buddha used in addition to other things in order to be able to train his mind to get to enlightenment. As I shared, you wouldn't be able to meditate your way to enlightenment. Meditation is important and you need to meditate in order to be able to get to enlightenment, but you wouldn't be able to just meditate your way to enlightenment. There's much more that you need in order to be able to train your mind to get to enlightenment. So that's why typically after meditation, there's some type of talk to be able to help students to be able to understand more of what it takes to be able to get to enlightenment. So I'm going to be sharing some details with you guys to help you guys to understand more of the teachings of the Buddha. And then at a certain point, I'm just going to stop and open up to any and all questions that you have. Whether you're here at the temple or you're online, you can ask any questions that you like. Here at the temple, we have microphones in the white bowl there in the center of the room. We also have some up here as well. If you would like to ask a question here, if you could just get a microphone, take it back to your seat, press the gray button, you'll see the lights come on. And if you hold this up to your chin, we'll be able to hear you here at the temple and they'll be able to hear you online as well. If you speak here without a microphone, they won't be able to hear you online. And then you can keep these microphones with you because you might have more than one question or someone around you might have a question and you can just share the microphone with them. And if you're not using it, if you could just turn it off, that'll be helpful so we don't get feedback through the speakers. And then anybody who's online, you can put your questions into Facebook, YouTube, or Zoom in the comment section. I'll be able to see that. Or if you're in Zoom, you can electronically raise your hand, unmute your microphone, and ask any and all questions that you like that way. So this individual who we refer to as the Buddha figured out 2,500 years ago how to get to enlightenment. What enlightenment is it's a mental state that you attain in this life or at death where the mind's completely peaceful, calm, serene, and content with joy. By the time you get to enlightenment, you will no longer experience any anger, sadness, frustration, irritation, annoyance, guilt, shame, fear, stress, anxiety, loneliness, boredom, shyness, resentment, jealousy. All of this can be eliminated from the mind through training the mind. The Buddha figured out that there's these 10 individual pollutions that are in the mind. And when you understand what these are and you apply the tools and the techniques to uproot them and eliminate them out of the mind will be experiencing enlightenment. You'll notice that the mind has focus, concentration, clarity, and deep memory. Because when you have these pollutions in your mind, you'll actually lack those qualities. By the time you uproot these pollutions out of the mind, you'll notice that your personal professional relationships are really blossoming. Because in the unenlightened state, you'll have a certain amount of bitterness, harshness, and hostility in your mind that's going to be coming out in your daily interactions with people, and that's damaging your relationships. You can't live harmoniously with others as long as you're being bitter and harsh and hostile. You might actually feel justified in the way that you're functioning, and people oftentimes think that it's other people who are causing you to be angry or frustrated. Oftentimes people blame their feelings or emotions on their parents or their siblings or their boss or their life partner or their children. But these things are actually being caused by your own mind. So being bitter and harsh and hostile, as long as you're putting that out, it's all just coming back to you. By the time you get to enlightenment, you don't do that anymore. And this is why your relationships are really blossoming. They can be completely harmonious. You'll notice by the time you get to enlightenment that you don't even experience a bad mood any longer, that it's physically impossible for you to experience a bad mood. So this is all occurring through training of the mind. This meditation is an important part of that, but there's other parts you need as well. You need to first understand what's causing these feelings, because you wouldn't be able to eliminate them if you didn't know what was actually causing them. What's causing these feelings is something called craving, desire, attachment. This is the mind longing, yearning, chasing after the objects of its affection, craving permanence. If the mind's chasing, if it gets what it wants and what it expects, it'll experience pleasant feelings like happiness, excitement, elation, thrill, exhilaration, or euphoria. But if the mind doesn't get what it wants, it experiences painful feelings like anger, sadness, frustration, irritation, annoyance, guilt, shame, fear, stress, anxiety, and things like this. And then there's neither painful nor pleasant feelings. This is like shyness or uncomfortableness or displeasure. This is all being caused by the mind itself, that the mind is chasing and chasing and chasing and chasing. It's almost like the mind in the unenlightened state has an unquenchable thirst, that it thinks that something external is going to provide some kind of lasting satisfaction, so it will chase after it. And again, if it gets what it wants, it gets pleasant feelings. And if it doesn't get what it wants, it'll get those painful feelings. And when you're experiencing those painful feelings like anger and frustration and others, the mind in the unenlightened state firmly believes that it's something external that's causing these feelings. So the mind will tend to become unskillful. What it'll tend to do is push people away. You might have pushed away friends or family out of your life. This is called aversion, where the mind thinks that it's this person that's causing your discontent feelings, and it thinks if it pushes this person out of the way, that you're going to experience a better situation, a better life. But this person isn't the one who's causing your feelings, because if they were the ones who were truly causing your feelings, when you push them out of your life, you would be peaceful and joyful from that point forward. But you can see that that's not the case. You still get angry, you still get irritated, you still get annoyed. Or the second thing you'll do when you don't understand that it's your own mind that's causing these feelings is you'll tend to be bitter and harsh and hostile to people through your intentions, your speech, and your actions. It's almost like an animal growling and roaring at another animal, trying to fear it into doing things your way. Or the third thing that you'll tend to do is put your expectations on people and try to pressure them into doing things your way. So as long as the mind has this craving, desire, attachment where it's craving permanence, it's only a matter of time before you encounter people who don't do things the same way as you. Because in the unenlightened state, with the mind's craving and with the mind's ego, the mind thinks that everything that I do is right and what other people do is wrong. And the mind can only be happy if people do it your way. And if they do it your way, you're happy. But if they don't do it your way, you're angry or sad or frustrated or some other discontent feeling. This is the mind craving permanence, but you live in an impermanent world where things are constantly changing. There's only one person in this world who does things your way 100% of the time. Do you guys know who this person is that does things your way 100% of the time? Who's the person who does things your way 100% of the time? Yourself, right? You're the only one, right? So if you can only live and be peaceful and harmonious with people who do things your way, then you can only live with yourself because you're the only one who does things your way. So what the mind does is it craves this permanence, wanting everybody to do things a certain way. And if you live life with someone long enough, it's only a matter of time before you see that people do things differently than you. That's impermanence. That is normal. But with the mind's craving for permanence, when people do things differently than you, you'll think something's wrong and you'll get angry and frustrated, and then you'll push people away. You'll be bitter, harsh, and hostile to them, or you'll put expectations on them. And this is just causing you difficulties in your day-to-day relationships. So there might be people that are actually doing this to you too. They might be pushing you away. They might be being bitter and harsh and hostile to you, and they might be putting expectations on you. So there's a better way of life here that you can see that the Buddha taught. Because as long as your mind's craving permanence, you'll continue to have difficulties and struggles for the rest of your life. So let me give you some examples so you can see what I'm talking about. Let's just say that you got a brand new car and you saved up for this brand new car for a really long time. It's your dream car. It's the perfect car that you've always wanted to buy. And you purchase this car and you drive it off the parking lot and you park it at a store and you go inside. And when you come out, there's a scratch on your car. If you get angry or frustrated in that situation, it's not the scratch that's causing that. And it's not the person who scratched your car. Now, we're not talking about what's wise or unwise, because obviously when we walk through a parking lot, we aspire not to scratch anybody's car. But what's happening here when the mind gets angry and frustrated is that it's craving permanence. It's craving for this car to look permanently beautiful when it's just not possible. This car, the paint's going to fade, the tires are going to need to be changed, the upholstery is going to get ripped and torn. It's only a matter of time because this car is impermanent. And if your mind craves permanence, when you're experiencing this impermanence, your mind's not going to like that. Your mind's going to get angry or frustrated. Let's say that you are really excited to go on a trip. Let's just say you're traveling. Maybe you're on your way to Thailand and you're so excited to go to Thailand. You just can't wait to get there. Maybe you're thinking about that mango and sticky rice that they have. Or maybe it's the massages or the elephants that you can play with. You just can't wait to get to Thailand. You're so excited to go to Thailand. And you show up to the airport thinking that your flight's going to leave in about an hour. And you go to check in your bags. And the person at the ticket counter says, "I'm sorry, sir. I'm sorry, ma'am. You can't check in right now. Your flight's not leaving for another 3 hours." Right? If you notice you get angry and frustrated there, it's not the airline company that's causing that. That's the mind craving permanence. The mind's longing, yearning. It's craving for things to be permanent. I want every single airplane to take off on time, especially the ones you're on. Right? Like you don't mind if other people's planes are late, but the planes that you're on, maybe you want those to take off on time. But if you travel enough, it's only a matter of time before you meet with a travel delay. It's going to happen. There's going to be weather issues. There's going to be maintenance issues. There's going to be crew issues. It's only a matter of time before you experience a delay. But with the mind's craving for permanence, it's going to get happy when you get what you want, and it's going to get angry and sad or frustrated when you don't get what you want. The mind's craving this permanence while you live in an impermanent world. So this meditation that we just did, this breathing mindfulness meditation, the way that it fits into this overall plan and this overall approach that the Buddha shares that's training your mind to get to enlightenment is that it's helping you to build what's called mindfulness or awareness of mind, so that you can watch over your mind. And whenever you notice that there's anger or frustration or any of these other discontent feelings that are arising in your day-to-day life, you can train your mind to cut that off and let it go. So in your meditation, you're cutting off anything and everything that's coming up. The goal of this meditation isn't to eliminate your thoughts. Sometimes that's what people think when they're training their mind and they hear the instruction of the meditation. The goal of this meditation is to notice your thoughts sooner and sooner and cut them off and let them go easier and easier. You're going to have thoughts during meditation. Even when your mind is enlightened, you'll actually have thoughts. But the difference is in the unenlightened state, you'll tend to have a bombardment of thoughts where it'll be thought, 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 or you'll have a thought, you'll indulge in that thought, you'll follow it, you'll look at it, and then you'll be 2 or 3 minutes down the road and you're like, oh yeah, that's right. I'm meditating. Let me bring my mind back to the breath. So here, what you're doing in this meditation is you're cutting off anything and everything that's coming up. So you're building this internal mechanism in your mind to be able to cut off and let go. An enlightened being still has thoughts during meditation, but they have quietness and stillness between their thoughts. But they'll actually have a thought, they'll notice it right away, cut it off and let it go and come right back to the breath. So you build this internal mechanism in your mind through this meditation. It's like exercising your mind. It's like taking your mind to the gym. And you build this internal mechanism to be able to cut off and let go. So now when you're checking in your luggage and you're noticing the anger and the frustration coming up, because it's going to start as a bodily sensation. It's going to be like tingling in the body, tightening in the chest, tightening in the throat, heat in the face, pressure in the skull. This is the early warning system alerting you that you're about to experience some anger or frustration. And if your mindfulness, if your awareness of mind, you can be looking over the mind and you can notice that is about to arise, you can actually cut it off and let it go, protecting the mind, preserving the mind. And if you do this enough, you actually get to the point where you no longer experience anger and sadness or frustration. It just won't even arise. So you're not suppressing your feelings or repressing your feelings. Instead, you're cutting it off and letting it go before it even becomes a feeling. It's just a bodily sensation at that point. And again, if you do this enough where you're proactively training your mind in meditation, and then in your day-to-day life, whenever there's discontentedness arising, you cut it off and let it go. Over time, you'll completely transform your mind, getting to the point where you never experience any anger, sadness, frustration, or any of these other discontent feelings. There's more that you would need to know than just what I'm sharing with you so far, but this is like the real focal point of this meditation, of how this particular meditation is actually helping you. So in meditation, you're cutting off everything and anything that comes up. But in your day-to-day life, you're only cutting off the unwholesome thoughts. So for example, if you're thinking about taking your mom out to lunch or out to dinner, out to breakfast, and you're thinking that maybe I'll give mom a call and see if she'd like to go to breakfast tomorrow. No need to cut that off in your day-to-day life. If it comes up in meditation, you'd like to cut it off because you're training your mind. But in your day-to-day life, there's no need to cut that thought off. Maybe you call your mom and see how she's doing, see if she'd like to go to breakfast. But if you're thinking about punching your boss in the face in your day-to-day life, cut that off, right? Because if you act upon that, it's going to produce unwholesome results for you. So any unwholesome thoughts that are coming up in your day-to-day life, that's what you would like to cut off. And slowly but surely, you'll transition your mind and transform your mind to get to the point where you won't have unwholesome thoughts. Your mind can just be completely peaceful. It can be calm and steady and stable. You can get to a point where your mind is unshakable. It doesn't matter what's happening in your day-to-day life. There's nothing that would shake up your mind by the time you get to enlightenment. So I'm just going to stop here and see what questions you guys have. If you're here at the temple, remember we have microphones here. And for those of you guys online, you can put your questions into Facebook, YouTube, or Zoom, or you can raise your hand in Zoom and ask any questions that you like. So are there any questions here? Anybody online that would like to ask questions? Yeah, go for it, Diego.
So, David, I have some questions. And for example, when we're talking about the car, the example of the car, and there is a scratch, even that my mind is peaceful that this is gonna happen some moment, should I try to fix that or find someone who did that and trying to deal with the situation, or I should just like accept the situation and just follow the life?
those are the choices that you make as part of your own personal choices, right? The Buddha's not giving you a decision tree that says, if this happens, do that. And if this happens, do that. Because that would be like a permanent answer for every situation, where the variables are going to be unique in each individual situation, right? So that's what you've got to decide, But what he's teaching you to do is he's teaching you how to keep your mind calm and peaceful and steady, so that now, no matter what you decide, you can then handle that wisely. So let's just say you weren't learning these teachings and you weren't training your mind, and you saw that scratch and your mind gets all frustrated and angry. And now you decide you would like to take care of this. Let's just say you call the police, and now the police come and you're all angry and frustrated and irritated with the police and talking in bitter and harsh ways with them. It's not going to turn out well. The police aren't going to be so eager to help you. Or say you go into the store and you talk to the security guards and ask them if they have CCTV cameras. And now you're bitter and harsh and hostile with them because you're all grumpy and irritable. They're not going to be so polite and helpful with you, because when you're putting out bitterness and harshness, it's just going to keep coming back to you. But if you can maintain your calmness and your composure, because you've trained your mind and you're just like, okay, I see there's a scratch here. Did anybody leave a note? No, I don't see a note. What can I do here? So you can handle this, right? Whether it's calling the police, whether it's talking to the security camera people, whether it's talking to your insurance company, however you choose to handle that, you're going to handle it with wise thoughts, because your mind is now calm. Because when your mind's shaken up, it's uncalm, it's unsteady, it's not stable. And now you don't have mindfulness or awareness of mind, and you don't have concentration. So therefore you can't access your wisdom and make wise decisions to bring that situation to a wholesome result for you. So the Buddha is teaching you how to keep your mind calm and steady and stable by uprooting the pollutions out of the mind. So then, no matter what you decide, whether it's the police, the security guards, the insurance company, whatever it is, you're going to handle it well based on whatever decisions you come up with.
Another question, that during the meditation, if I'm feeling a little bit sick, or feel like I'm like sneezing or coughing a lot, for example, like I'm actually sick, and I try to do the meditation, and then I'm trying to not sneezing or something, should I keep the meditation? Should I try to focus or something? How should I deal with this situation for meditation?
Again, this is another choice for each practitioner to decide in the moment, because the variables are always different, right? But all you're experiencing there is impermanence, right? If you're meditating and you're 3 minutes in and achoo, all that was impermanence, right? This body can't be permanently in any particular state, because this body is impermanent. So what you're doing is you're training your mind to be comfortable with impermanence. So there's no harm if you sneeze and then you just continue to meditate, right? Or if you coughed and continue to meditate. But if it was excessive, where you can't get any period of time where you're training your mind, maybe you wait, right? Maybe you take some medicine, maybe you wait to a period of time where your body is more amenable to you meditating. But what you would like to do after you build up your meditation practice for several months is you would actually like to seek out impermanence, right? Because oftentimes what people do is they meditate in exactly the same place all the time, like maybe their bedroom or something like this. Your mind will get attached to that. Your mind will crave that permanence. So now when you're somewhere else, you find it very difficult to meditate. Not for you, because you travel a lot. You're never really in one place for too long of a period of time. But people who live in one particular place, their mind can actually get hooked to that physical location, and they only feel comfortable meditating in that particular place. But what you would like to do is actually move your mind around into different environments, and this will actually help your mind to train to be able to be comfortable with impermanence. There was one time I was in Bangkok, actually, and I was on a boat going from one side of the river to the other, because they use those big, huge boat taxis. There's like 500 people sometimes on those boats. They're all crammed in, right? I saw a person one time sitting on top of an engine compartment, crammed into the boat. People were talking, and there was diesel fumes, the rumbling of the engine. They were sitting on top of the engine compartment, sitting there training their mind, doing meditation, right? This was like a perfect environment to train your mind. Where some people would be like, why would you ever meditate there? Like, don't you want to be in this quiet cave somewhere? Well, anybody can meditate there, right? You would like to challenge your mind. Yeah, go to the quiet cave sometime. But now also go to the place where everybody's talking and they're loud and the engine compartment's rumbling and there's diesel fumes and the boat's rocking side to side. This is going to challenge your mind, right? So you would like to seek out these kind of environments and not allow your mind to experience this permanence, because the mind, because it craves permanence, for example, like a classroom like this, oftentimes if people are coming here regularly, they will sit in exactly the same spot every single time, right? You guys might have experienced that when you're going to school or you're going to classes where you sit in exactly the same spot. That's because your mind is craving that permanence and it feels comfortable in that same spot. So wherever you see your mind doing that, switch it up. Don't allow your mind to do that. So if you have a certain routine where like you go to the gym every morning at 9 a.m., switch it up sometimes. Go at 7 a.m., go at 12 noon, go at 3. Sometimes don't even go at all. Skip it, right? Like train your mind to be comfortable with this change. And then ultimately, once you train your mind to be comfortable with that change, it might just make sense for you to go to the gym every day at 9 o'clock. And that's kind of like what works for your schedule. But you would like to be able to kind of mix things up. If there's certain foods that you eat all the time, you'd like to mix that up. If there's certain foods that you're avoiding and you don't want to eat, you would like to include those and start eating those regularly. Train your mind to be comfortable with that impermanence of that flavor and that taste. Because if it's craving for permanence, there's going to be certain foods that it's attracted to and certain foods that it's pushing away. And you would actually like to train your mind to be comfortable with all of these things. And that's how you train your mind to be comfortable with impermanence. Yes. Other questions? There's plenty of mics. You're welcome to help yourself to get them.
Good morning. So my question is about loneliness, and then like we came alone, and then we will go alone. But during the time we should have the ability to be alone. But the point is sometimes we are feeling lonely, and how can we dispel these thoughts?
Okay.
Like I've tried like a stay at home for whole 2 weeks. I didn't go out, and the result was decent. But during the first maybe 3-4 days, the first 3-4 days was hard to get through that, the feeling.
Yeah. What's producing this is the same thing that's producing all the other discontent feelings. It's craving, desire, attachment. The mind is craving permanence, and perhaps your mind's craving interaction with other people. It's craving that stimulation and the conversations and whatever it is that you do when you're with other people. So the mind's happy in that situation. It likes being around other people. But when you're alone, your mind doesn't like that impermanence. It doesn't like this change, right? So the way that you do this is actually what you did, which is you train your mind to be alone. Oftentimes people think the way to get rid of loneliness and boredom is to like spend time around a lot of people, right? Or when they're eating, they will watch their phone while they're eating, thinking that they're getting rid of their boredom and their loneliness. But all they're doing is they're allowing the craving to continue inside their mind. You need to train your mind to let go of the craving. So this breathing mindfulness meditation is definitely something you need to be doing on a proactive basis, where every day, 2 or 3 times a day, you would like to be doing this meditation that we just did. You do that on a consistent long-term basis of training your mind with breathing mindfulness meditation, because it trains your mind to let go. The other thing that the Buddha taught that trains your mind to let go is generosity. Generosity is where you're giving and sharing, such as your time, effort, energy, and resources, without any expectation of anything in return. So you would like to be giving and sharing with the people around you, because when you have craving, desire, attachment in your mind, the mind will be quite selfish, where it'll hold on to things and it'll just my money, my clothes, my jewelry, my food, my phone, mine. But you got to be able to train your mind to live open-handedly and be joyful in giving and sharing with other people. That's going to train your mind to let go. So these are 2 proactive trainings that you need to be able to do. But then also what you can do is do the things like you did, which is put your mind in situations where you are alone, where whether it's staying at home, whether it's going on vacation, whether it's going to the movies, whether it's going to dinner. Sometimes people, they don't take themselves out on a date. I suggest people take themselves out on a date. Maybe you would go to a really nice restaurant with your friends or your family, but have you ever just taken yourself to like a really nice restaurant and just spend a little bit of money on yourself, right? And just enjoy spending time alone. Because if you don't enjoy spending time alone with yourself, why would anybody enjoy spending time with you? Right? So you would like to be doing this regularly. So you're not going to be able to just spend 2 weeks at home and then it's done. Right? You're going to need to do this multiple times where you're spending time at home, you're going to the movies, you're going to the mall, you're going on vacation. Do things alone so that you get to the point where you feel comfortable doing things alone. You go hiking by yourself. You go bicycling by yourself. Do different activities alone because you already know you can be comfortable with other people, but now you would like to train your mind to be comfortable alone. So you got to put your mind in the situation that it doesn't want to be in, which is being alone. If there are certain things that you're getting pleasant feelings from, you're going to need to distance yourself from those things for a period of time. But if there are certain things that you get painful feelings from, and some people consider loneliness to be painful, you're going to need to actually expose the mind to that kind of thing. So you're going to need to expose your mind to being alone. And slowly but surely, with the proactive training of breathing, mindfulness, meditation, and generosity, and putting your mind in that situation where it's regularly being alone, eventually you can train it to be completely comfortable being alone, where you can enjoy when you're with friends and family and other people, but you can also enjoy being alone as well. And now that's what we call liberation. That's where your mind's free. Because when your mind is in the unenlightened state, you can only be happy if certain conditions are met, right? So your happiness actually shrinks. So the mind thinks like, if my mom and dad does this, if my brothers and sisters do this, if my boss does this, if the weather is this, if I have this much money in my bank account, if I have this kind of house and this kind of car, and I'm with some other people, then I will be happy. Right? So your happiness is shrinking because you have all these conditions that have to be met. But if you can get rid of these conditions where you can be happy when you're with people and you can be happy when you're without people, hey, your mind's liberated. This is freedom. That's what it means to get to enlightenment, is your mind's free. You can be happy no matter what's happening. If it's sunny outside, you can be happy. But if it's raining outside, you can also be happy then too. Right? This is freedom, where the mind's now free. It's liberated. It's completely peaceful and joyful. Other questions?
I have two questions. First, I think I still pursue some things like make a living through my passion and build meaningful relationships. But but many teachings encourage us to accept impermanence. So sometimes I feel there is a tension between accepting impermanence and pursue a good life. So I want to know what's the difference between healthy human needs and attachments. Yeah.
What's the difference between human needs and attachments?
Yeah.
Okay. So first of all, I don't teach people to accept impermanence. It's understanding impermanence. It's understand that it exists and that you're going to face it, and not allowing your mind to crave permanence, right? So like the example that Diego had with the scratched car, if you're accepting impermanence, it's like, okay, somebody scratched my car, I'm just going to accept it. That's not what I would teach, because in some situations, you're going to need to call the police, and you're going to need to have a police report, or you're going to need to call your insurance, or you're going to need to go check the CCTV cameras. So you're not accepting impermanence. It's just a matter of understanding that it will occur and not allow your mind to crave permanence, right? So this word accept isn't the best way to think about it, because the Buddha never taught that. Because in certain situations, when things are changing with impermanence, you're going to need to take action in order to be able to fix your car or whatever it is. But in other situations, maybe you don't, right? Like maybe you have a motorbike and it's parked and it's got one little nick on it, and you're just like, I don't need to do anything about that. Whereas if somebody ripped off the whole side of your motorbike, you might be like, wow, I need to really address this, right? So each situation's different, but you're never accepting impermanence. In terms of like what you need in order to sustain your life and versus craving, desire, attachment, these are two completely separate things. What a need is something that you need in order to sustain your life. This is food, clothing, shelter, and medical care. These are the four things that you actually need in order to be able to stay alive. Food, clothing, shelter, and medical care. If you don't have those four things, over time, you will end up dying. So out of loving kindness and compassion for this being who you are, you're going to need to acquire those things. Food, clothing, shelter, and medical care. But even those things could potentially be a craving, desire, attachment. It's not the object itself that determines whether it's a craving, desire, attachment. It's the way that the mind pursues it and the way that the mind relates to it. The mind can crave and be attached to everything and anything in the world. Everything, even meditation, the mind can actually be attached to it, which you're not interested in allowing your mind to be attached to any of these things. The attachment isn't the object itself. It's the way that the mind longs and yearns for the object. So I'll give you some examples to help you understand this. A bottle of water, right? We all need to drink water pretty much in order to be able to sustain our life. Without water, we wouldn't be able to survive. This is a basic need in order to survive, right? So if I had a bottle of water in my car and I'm on my way to a hike and I park my car and I forgot the water in the car and I'm 30 minutes down the trail and I'm like, oh my gosh, my water, my water. And now I like feverishly, head back to the car, running to the car. Maybe I twist my ankle on the way and I sling open the door and I grab the water. I'm like, water. Oh, thank goodness I got my water. Right? This is a craving, desire, attachment. It's not the object. It's not the water. It's the way that the mind is longing, yearning for the water. It's craving for it to be permanent. Because there could be a second person who's out on the trail and they could be like, I forgot my water. I'm going to be out here for a while. I'm going to be hiking for like 6 or 8 hours. I think I should turn around and go get my water. And now they calmly make their way back to their car and they actually get their water. And now they go on their hike, right? So the object is the same. It's the water. The craving, desire, attachment is in the mind. It's how the mind's relating to this object, whether the mind's craving it and longing, yearning for it. So while your basic needs are food, clothing, shelter, and medical care, and that's what you need in order to sustain your life, the mind could actually crave any number of those things, right? Because it could be a certain type of clothing or a certain type of shoes or a certain type of jacket that the mind's longing, yearning for. Or you could just make a decision that, hey, this jacket will work just fine. I don't really need that $5,000 jacket. This $100, $200 jacket will be just fine, and I'll be able to use this. And it doesn't mean there's a problem with the $5,000 jacket because someone might choose to purchase that $5,000 jacket. But maybe they make $3 million a year, and that $5,000 jacket is no big deal for them, right? So it's not the object itself that determines whether it's a craving, desire, attachment. It's how the mind longs and yearns for it. So if you notice that your mind's pulling towards something and it's chasing after it, and is trying to find satisfaction in external objects, this is how you know it's a craving, desire, attachment. If you're discontent, you will notice that you have craving, desire, attachment in your mind. That's the indication that it's a craving, but not the object itself. So you'll have basic needs, but you even need to train your mind not to crave those things as well.
So if I choose something they are reasonable, it's okay.
Say again.
If I choose something and they're reasonable, they are basically, and I have a peaceful mind to face this. So it's okay. It's normal.
So I don't tell people what's okay and what's not okay, because that's putting myself in a position of telling you what you should or shouldn't be doing in your life. Instead, what I'm here to do is help you to understand how to train your mind to get to this peaceful and joyful mental state that the Buddha taught. So anytime you're chasing after something it's going to produce discontentedness. Because if you get what you want, you're going to get conditioned pleasant feelings. But if you don't get what you want, because sometimes you're not going to get what you want because of impermanence, you're going to experience painful feelings, anger, sadness, and frustration. So if you're chasing, it's only a matter of time before you experience discontentedness. So that would be unwise. So you would like to train your mind not to do that. But when I teach that, oftentimes people think, well, if I'm not chasing after things, won't my mind swing to the other side where I'll be dull and lethargic and lazy and complacent? Well, it might, but that's not what the Buddha is teaching you. That's the opposite side. There's either chasing or there's the dullness and lethargic condition. The Buddha is not teaching you these two extremes. He's teaching you to come to the middle, where you can gradually pursue your goals, objectives, or interests through wise decision making. So let's just say you would like to improve your career. Let's just say you would like to buy a new house, right? Well, you could chase after that house feverishly, right? Like chasing after it. And you can only be happy if you get it. That's unwise. Or you could be all the way on the other side where you could care less about where you live and whether or not you have shelter or not. Those are the two extremes, and that's not what you're interested in. Instead, you would like to come to the middle where you just gradually make wise decisions towards a certain goal, objective, or interest. If you accomplish your goal and you're happy, and if you don't accomplish your goal and you're sad, that's not a goal. That's a craving, desire, attachment. That's the mind chasing. And that's what people oftentimes call a goal, but they're not actually using the language in the way that I would recommend. A true goal is one that you can work your way towards, and whether you accomplish it or not, you can actually maintain your peace and you can maintain your joy. Because if you're making your way towards a goal and you're 80% of the way there, you could look at it and say, 80% of the way there. You know what? I could give myself more time in order to be able to accomplish this, or I could add more resources in order to be able to help me accomplish this. Or you know what? I'm just fine with the 80%. I don't need to go any further. And now you can maintain your peace and your joy. So when you come to the middle and you're not chasing and you're not lazy and lethargic, you can just gradually make wise decisions towards a certain goal or objective with ambition, with enthusiasm, with motivation, with initiative, with vitality and vigor, right? Like the Buddha, I think he was the most ambitious person I've ever known. Like 2,500 years ago, he had the goal for his teachings to be able to reach the entire world, right? 2,500 years ago, he spoke a very regionalized language. The entire world didn't even have an international language 2,500 years ago. So how could his teachings ever reach the entire world, right? And travel was not so easy 2,500 years ago. So he had this goal of his teachings reaching the entire world, but he knew it wasn't going to be during his lifetime. So each day, from the age of 35 to the age of 80, he gradually made wise decisions to bring his teachings into the world in such a way that they could continue to be propagated after his life, so that more and more and more people could get access to them. And then more and more people would learn how to get to this enlightened mental state. So you need to learn how to pursue a goal that you may or may not actually accomplish, but you're making wise decisions towards accomplishing it. And you can maintain your peace and joy whether you accomplish that goal or not. And this is how you can get to peace and joy, whether it's about your house or your money or your friends or your any number of topics. You can just gradually work towards those goals each day without chasing it, but also without being lazy and lethargic as well.
Okay. Another question is, I have some good friends, but we have different pursuit. One of my friend, he wants to buy a big house, buy a very fancy car, but I disagree his pursuit. I think maybe we have different values.
Mm-hmm.
So how to deal with this kind of relationship if you don't have, if you feel you don't have the same value with your friend?
Everybody in your life is going to do things differently than you. Not only your friends, but your family. Everybody's going to do things differently than you. There's nobody that's going to do things exactly the same way as you. The problem that you're experiencing is that you're craving this person to do things your way. If this person would like to buy a big house, so be it. That's their choice, right? It's their life, it's their decisions, and it's their results. You don't need to put expectations on this person to do things your way. So this is how you free your mind. If that person would like to buy a new car, a new house, that's their life. It has nothing to do with your life whatsoever. So what we're used to is we're used to growing up with parents typically that are putting expectations on us and trying to control us to do things their way. So when we grow up, we think that that's the way to interact in the world, is to put expectations on our friends and our family and try to get them to do things our way, right? But this is actually going to lead to your frustration and your madness, because the more expectations you have of how you want your friends and your family to function, they're never going to function that way, because it's only you that does things your way. So you've got to get rid of those expectations. Your friend says, hey, I'm thinking about buying a new house. Hey, great. What are you thinking about? Oh, I'm thinking about a mansion, like 10,000 square feet. Oh, sounds interesting. Are you going to have any parties? Right? Like, it's up to them, right? However they would like to do it. How are you going to pay for that, by the way? Oh, I got this new job, making all this money. Oh, great. Congratulations. That's all you really need to do. You don't need to try to control this person to do things any particular way, but instead just be supportive. If that's their idea, that's what they would like to do, wonderful. It's their life, their decisions, and their results.
Okay, but on this process, he feels not so happy.
What's that?
But I think maybe it's not his real goals, because he feels not so happy about the goals.
When you put yourself in the position of trying to figure out somebody else's life and how they should live their life, that's your ego. What your ego is your ego is trying to put yourself above people or below people, thinking that you're either superior to them or you're inferior to them. And you'll look down on people who you think are below you, and you'll think that you know how to run their life, and you know what's wholesome or unwholesome for their life, and you should tell them what they should or shouldn't be doing for their life. But if you put yourself below people, which is just as dangerous, you'll actually be shaken up when you're around that person, like a boss or a famous celebrity or politician, and now you'll lack confidence when you're around that person. So it's unwise to put yourself in a situation where you're trying to determine what other people should or shouldn't be doing in their life, because it's only that person that knows all the variables in their life and what it is that they're interested in. And all you need to do is be a supportive friend, be a supportive family member, and whatever choices they make in their life, that's the choices that they make in their life. And if they ask you for advice, they ask you for guidance, then you share it with them. But if they don't ask you for help, it would be unwise to give unsolicited guidance. When you step into somebody else's life and give them unsolicited guidance of how they should or shouldn't conduct their life, that's your ego thinking, I know what's best for this other person. And you would like to get rid of that, where you help people who are asking for your help, but you don't give unsolicited guidance to people. Mm-hmm.
Good morning, David. Thank you for your meditation guidance. And my question is, because during the process of meditation, we seems like to chasing a permanent or a ongoing peace and wisdom and like calm to everything. However, we still got some dark moments in our life that we may be still being crashing down in some moment. We are broken into pieces, and we might lost our temper, lost all of our control by any of maybe the strong triggers. So we might cry out loud or just losing our inner peace and any speed of our life. And then I may suffer from a self-criticism that why you can't be so calm and peaceful to that thing, why you just be angry, why you lose the peaceful. So how can we deal with that messy time?
Okay, so if you're actively training your mind in the way that the Buddha taught, you won't get into those messy periods. They'll become less and less frequent, and they'll become less and less significant. And eventually you'll get to the point where you don't experience that at all. By the time you get to enlightenment, your mind's completely peaceful and joyful, and your life is completely peaceful and joyful. You don't have this like shaking up of your life. It just doesn't occur. But in the process of getting there, you're going to have these periods of time where things are kind of shifting and changing. And the only problem that you're really experiencing is just a lack of wisdom, that the mind just doesn't understand what it doesn't understand. What the Buddha is teaching you is the natural laws and how the world truly functions. Like, for example, the mind in the unenlightened state doesn't understand that it craves permanence while it lives in an impermanent world. The mind just doesn't even understand that in the unenlightened state. It'll firmly believe that it's other people who are causing you to experience certain feelings. So if you are interested in minimizing and eliminating those periods of time where you're shaken up, each individual situation is different. So I can't really tell you like do this or do that or do this. But in general, I'm going to show you this diagram that is helpful because this is what you actually need. You need to train your mind through this particular teaching. This is just an image, but behind each one of these are individual factors, that this is the path to enlightenment. This is how to train your mind to get to enlightenment. And I'm going to be teaching this next week. I'm going to be teaching a course Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. It's called The Foundation and the Path to Enlightenment, where I'm going to be sharing all the foundational teachings. And I'm going to be teaching this on Tuesday morning. And it takes me about 2.5 hours to teach it. And I'm going to slowly walk students through how to actually train their mind to be able to get to enlightenment through this teaching. And if you're here in Chiang Mai, you can attend here. But if you're not, I live stream all the classes. So you can attend through Zoom, Facebook, or YouTube. And if you can't attend live, it's recorded. So you can actually watch the recording. In fact, I've taught this class many times. So it's already on our YouTube channel. You can actually see it there. You can actually listen on our podcast. You can get it in our books. Everything's available for you guys at no cost. This first book is the best place to get started. You can download it for free from our website. You can take it and go print it. You can get printed versions here by just reimbursing us for the printing cost, or you can get it on Amazon. Chapter 4 and 5 is the path to enlightenment. I mean, the whole book is what you need, and you need to ultimately learn all the books in order to be able to get to enlightenment. But this is the best place to get started. So during that period of time of being shaken up, you need to bring in the mind's equanimity, which is the calmness and composure. But the mind's not going to be able to readily and easily do that if you're not training your mind with the Eightfold Path. So that's why I recommend that you start here.
I'm sorry for the question. Is that you mean when people arrive in their enlightenment, they are so peaceful and calm with everything, and like as you say, like all of the joyful and peace? But is that also a kind of deny of the shaking period?
No. Oh, sorry.
Or there's still the meaning of that, the shaking period, or we must gone through that shaking one?
The causes and conditions that produce that have been uprooted and eliminated out of the mind. By the time you get to enlightenment, the mind doesn't shake. It's unshakable. So you're not denying or ignoring it or repressing it, but the causes and conditions that are producing it have been uprooted. So these 10 pollutions that the Buddha discovered, they're referred to as the 10 fetters. These 10 individual pollutions have been eliminated out of the mind. And as you eliminate those out of the mind, those are the causes and conditions that are producing the mind to be shaken up. And now, because those are gone, the mind doesn't shake. By the time you get to enlightenment, your mom could die and you wouldn't be upset or sad. Oftentimes people associate that sadness or that grief or sorrow with love. They think that it's love that is causing that, but they don't understand that it's actually not love. It's craving, desire, attachment. It's craving mom to be permanent when mom is not permanent. She was born, so she has to die. So when you hold on to mom and you crave for her to be permanent, when she dies, your mind's shaken up. So one of the ways to say this is that the mind craves permanence. Another way to say it is that the mind doesn't like impermanence. It doesn't like change. That's why if you look at your life and you look at all the times when things were changing in your life, those were the most difficult times in your life. When you were changing living locations, when you were changing jobs or occupations, when your relationships were changing, those were the most difficult times in your life because the mind doesn't like change. in the unenlightened state. It doesn't like impermanence. It craves permanence. So this is how the teachings of the Buddha work. They're not based in rituals and ceremonies and prayer and worship and things like this. You need to be able to learn, examine, and investigate his teachings. You need to reflect on them to verify if they're true or false. And then you need to practice his teachings, integrating them into your day-to-day life. Nothing in the teachings of the Buddha is based in belief. Because with belief, you don't know what's true or false. You're just believing it because someone convinced you to believe it, or you convinced yourself to believe it. So you need to be able to look at your life, taking the things that I'm sharing with you. Don't believe me, but instead you can see for yourself. If you look at recent situations where you've been angry or frustrated, you can see that your mind's craving permanence in those situations. Where at that time, you might have been trying to blame somebody else for the feelings that you're experiencing. But if you look at it objectively, you can see that it's your own mind that's actually causing these feelings. So when you uproot those causes and conditions out of your mind won't shake. It'll be cheerful, bright, glad, radiant, and uplifted. Not because mom died, but despite the fact that she died. Even though mom died, you can maintain your peace, you can maintain your joy because your mind's not holding on and craving for her to be permanent because you already understand she is impermanent. So there's the intellectual understanding, but then there's the training of the mind. Because intellectually, we can sit here and say, yeah, we understand mom's impermanent. She's going to die at some point. But then when she actually dies, your mind can be shaken up. Even though intellectually you understand she will die at some point, but because your mind is holding on and craving permanence, when mom does die, that's where the mind is shaken up. So there's intellectual learning that you need to do on the path to enlightenment, but then there's actually doing the work, the inner work, the growth and development to uproot these pollutions. And once you do, that's where the mind's experiencing the enlightened mental state, where it's physically impossible for it to be shaken up because the causes and conditions that produce that have been eliminated from the mind. So you're not denying it or avoiding it or repressing it. It's just that the causes and conditions that produce it no longer exist.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Hello. So you said that negative emotions were very not enlightenment emotions. At some time they will you will not even experience them, right? But there is situations in life. So I'm from Ukraine and there is war happening right now.
Mm-hmm.
And there is no way to react to that without anger, for example. And anger or any other emotions feel natural as a response. And the question is, there is moments in life when the joyful and peaceful approach seems not the right way, and there are moments in life when it seems like the other way is better.
This is the way that your mind currently thinks. So there's craving, desire, attachment in the mind, but the thing that's causing that is something called, oftentimes people translate it as ignorance. I tend to use the phrase unknowing of true reality, that because of the mind's lack of wisdom, because of its misunderstanding, its misperceptions, the mind continues to crave. There is a way to respond to something like a war without anger. You don't have to be angry. You don't have to be frustrated. But right now, that's all you know. That's all you've ever understood is how to be angry and frustrated because your mind's never been trained otherwise. It lacks wisdom. So just like when we were growing up as children, we lacked wisdom of how to clean this body. We didn't know how to clean this body. But slowly but surely, we learned how to clean this body. And now we actually like it. And we actually choose to do it regularly. Where when we were a child, we didn't understand the benefits of cleaning our body. We just wanted to play. That's all we wanted to do. But then slowly but surely, we realized how nice it is to have a clean body. So we started cleaning our body regularly. There's this other part to this being who you are that you haven't gained the wisdom of how to clean your mind yet. It's just something you haven't ever learned. But if you learn how to clean the mind, you'll get to a point where you can respond in these situations differently. Right now, your mind is wired to be angry and frustrated and agitated and annoyed and all these other discontent feelings. And the mind thinks that that's normal. That there's this better way of life that your mind doesn't currently understand because of its lack of wisdom. And if you learn it and you train your mind, you can see that you can be quite peaceful. even though there's a war, you can actually maintain your peace and your joy. When someone's craving permanence, they want the world to be a certain way, they're craving the world to be a certain way, they will be upset when it's not that way. They will be angry and frustrated. So, of course, a war, it's unfortunate that these things are happening, but the fact is that these things do happen, that the world's not going to be permanently peaceful. That's the world. That's the mind craving permanence, where we live in an impermanent world where sometimes there's not going to be wars and sometimes there are going to be wars. It's unfortunate that these wars are occurring, but you're not causing the war. I'm not causing the world war. We're not the ones who are warring. There's other people that are choosing to do that. And we can't control those people. It's those people that are choosing those things. So you need to be able to get to a point where you're not craving for the world to be a certain way. Where if you're longing, yearning for the world to be a certain way, the mind thinks, I can only be happy if the world is this way. That's the craving for permanence. But if it's this way over here, I can't be happy any longer. So you need to be able to come to the middle where you understand that there's other beings in the world. There's 8 billion human beings in the world, and you can control what they choose to do. That there's going to be some people who are loving and kind and warm and gentle and friendly and respectful. But then there's going to be some people who murder. There's going to be people who rape. There's going to be people who have do child abuse and things like this. That's really unfortunate, but that's the impermanent nature of the world. And you can't control what other people do. All you can do is control your own mind. But if you haven't trained your mind, you can't control it. So that's why you need to cultivate the wisdom of how to train the mind. And then you can experience peace and joy despite the fact that there's a war going on.
But isn't there bigger issues than just us, like society, national identity, or other things? And so, because what you're saying, it feels like too selfish, in the sense that you just need to care about yourself and how you respond, but you not individual, like you still exist in society and all that stuff.
Yeah, that's what the Buddha is teaching you. He's not teaching you to be selfish. He's teaching you to be aware of the way you interact with other people, and that you train your mind to make wise decisions about how you choose to interact in the world. But what the Buddha is teaching you at the core is what's causing your mind to be angry? What's causing your mind to be frustrated? What's causing you to be lonely or bored or any of these other discontent feelings like stress and anxiety? What the unenlightened, unwise mind will think is that it's the outside world that's causing this. It's not the outside world. So it's not selfish to actually train your own mind and work on your own mind to no longer be angry and frustrated and bitter and harsh and hostile. In fact, the opposite is true. To continue to be angry, to continue to be frustrated and irritated and annoyed, that's selfish. Because what you're doing is you're being bitter and harsh and hostile to other people. You're putting your expectations on other people, trying to control other people to do things your way. That's what the mind will do in the unenlightened state, is it'll try to control others to do things my way. That's selfish because I want it my way. I want everyone to do it my way. And if they don't do it my way, I'm going to be bitter and harsh and hostile to them and try to fear them and shame them into doing it my way. That's the selfishness. The opposite of that, where there's loving kindness and compassion, is to understand that everybody's making decisions in their own ways, and that you shouldn't put your expectations on other people and trying to force them or control them to do things your way. And now if they choose to do whatever they're choosing to do, that's their choice. And they're going to experience the results of that. If they make wise decisions, they'll experience wholesome results. If they make unwise decisions, they will experience unwholesome results. So working on your own mind to get to a point where you're peaceful and joyful isn't selfish, because what it means by getting peaceful and joyful is that you're no longer going to be bitter and harsh and hostile to other people. You're no longer going to be putting your expectations on other people. And that's one of the most selfless things you could ever do, is get to a point where you're not putting your expectations on others. That's actually truly loving them. Because when you're putting your expectations on another person, you're not actually loving them. You're trying to control them and pressure them to do things your way. That's the selfishness. Mm-hmm. Other questions you guys have? Yeah, please help yourself. There's mics back there.
a question about purpose. If my goals aren't long-term or singular, and I have many interests and hobbies, my life is very varied and exciting, making it impossible to focus and develop a single concentrated path. Perhaps three interests may be taking turns throughout the year. Sometimes in these trials, I wonder if I am trying to escape pain by switching to something else to achieve peace, or if this is the peace I truly need. Since I am peaceful in the present moment, how can I distinguish between these two situations?
Okay, so what you're describing is basing your peace and joy on something external. You'll never get to peace and joy based on external circumstances, because as soon as you attach your happiness to that external thing, as soon as it changes, you won't be happy anymore. So for example, if you get really happy when it's sunny outside, that means when it rains, you'll be sad or frustrated. Or if you get really happy when there's no war, that means when there's a war, you'll be sad and frustrated or angry. Or if you get really happy when your bank account balance is up here, that means when it goes down here, you'll get sad or frustrated. And because of impermanence and that the world's constantly changing, it's only a matter of time before whatever you're basing your happiness on is going to change. So we call this conditional happiness. This is actually unsatisfactory. If you allow your mind to have conditional happiness, then that means it's only a matter of time before the painful feelings come along, because that condition is going to change. What the Buddha is teaching you to do is get to unconditional happiness or unconditioned joy, where there doesn't need to be any condition met in order for you to be happy or in order for you to be peaceful. But everything that you just described is conditional, that if I'm doing this activity, I feel peaceful. If I have these things in my life, then I will be peaceful. If I am able to travel, then I will be peaceful. But those things aren't permanent. So as long as you're basing your happiness or your peacefulness on those things, when they change, you won't be peaceful and joyful any longer. So it's this Eightfold Path that's going to train your mind to be able to get to the unconditioned happiness and the unconditioned joy, where there doesn't need to be any condition met in order for you to be happy. So I'll give you an example of this. When I first started teaching here many years ago, people didn't know that I was actually teaching. They didn't know that I was offering classes here. So there would be days that I would show up for class and there'd be 5 or 10 people here. And then other days I would show up and there'd be nobody here, right? And I would just hear about myself, right? And I would just wait 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes. Nobody showed up. I would just go home, right? And I would help people that were learning with me online. And that happened for many times, probably for a 6-month period, maybe a year period. This kind of happened, where now every time I show up, you know, there's 60, 80 people here sometimes. Sometimes there's so many people that they can't even get in the door. You know, they're turning around and going away. Well, that's not how I base my happiness, right? So during the period of time where there was 5 or 10 students, I was happy teaching them, but I was also happy when there was nobody here too. It wasn't happy because there was nobody here. It's just that my happiness wasn't based on whether people were here or not, right? So like right now, we had a fairly full classroom, but now maybe, you know, a quarter or half of the people have left. Okay, that's just impermanence. That's all that is. But if my mind craved permanence and I wanted everybody to stay here, that means when people got up and left, I'd be sad and frustrated. So you need to get to the point where you're not basing your inner happiness, your inner joy on external circumstances. And that's this Eightfold Path that's going to be able to help you to train your mind to get to that point. So everything you just talked about is basing your feelings on external circumstances. And that's how the unenlightened mind functions. But you would like to be able to train it to no longer do that. And that's what the Buddha is teaching you how to do.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hello. Okay, my question is about your example about the car. and I agree with you. We need to find the solution or to call the place. But if whether it's wrong to have the emotion of the frustration or annoying, or how to balance about the finding the solution and erase some emotion.
It's important to not see what I'm describing as good or bad or right or wrong. It's not wrong to have emotions. That's not what I'm teaching you at all. It's just what I'm teaching you is that the unenlightened mind will have these emotions. It will have these feelings because the mind is untrained. But by the time you get to the point where the mind's trained, you won't have those discontent feelings anymore. So I don't think of that as right or wrong. That it's not wrong to be angry. It's just unwise to be angry, because when your mind is shaken up with anger, you're going to make unwise decisions and it's going to produce unwholesome results in your life. So in these situations that you're going to experience in day-to-day life, there's a way to train your mind to no longer experience that anger and frustration. But you don't have that training. You don't have that wisdom right now. So it's important not to see it as right or wrong, but just understand that there is this better way of life that you can train your mind to no longer experience the anger and sadness and frustration and all these other feelings.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, I got a question. When we talk about cut off and let go our sadness, anxiety, and so on, does it mean we should cut off and let go our happy or other strong so-called positive emotions?
Yeah, I also don't think of them as positive and negative, because this is like looking at it through a black and white lens. But the short answer to your question is yes. You need to eliminate the conditioned pleasant feelings. As long as you allow your mind to have conditioned pleasant feelings, you will experience the painful ones at some point. What the Buddha is teaching you to do is get beyond the conditioned feelings to the point where you're experiencing unconditioned mental states, where your mind's always happy, your mind's always peaceful, and your mind's always joyful. But you can't do that as long as you allow your mind to experience conditioned feelings. So for example, if you get a brand new job and you're so happy with this brand new job, you're so excited because it's the perfect company, it's the perfect job, the perfect salary, the perfect location, the perfect coworkers, and you get so excited with that job. Well, 3 years later, when the company goes out of business, you're going to be angry, you're going to be sad, you're going to be frustrated. And these two things are so far apart from each other that the unenlightened mind doesn't even realize that they're related. That as long as you allow your mind to get conditional excitement, then that means when that condition no longer exists, your mind's going to end up in the painful feelings. So instead, you can work towards getting a new job. And when you get that perfect job and it's like, wow, this is an outstanding job, you can just say, just be appreciative, just be having gratitude. Like, wow, this is great. I got this job. I worked really hard for this. I'm really pleased that I got it. But in your mind, you need to understand it's impermanent. It's not permanent. Even if you work there for the rest of your life, at some point, you're no longer going to work there anymore. So if you base your happiness on this brand new job, then it's only a matter of time before you end up in the painful feelings. So the short answer is yes, you need to eliminate the conditioned pleasant feelings so that way you can get to unconditioned happiness and joy. So another example, if I wake up and I get really excited when it's sunny outside, I want to go hiking and I want to go outside on a hiking trail. Well, when I go take a shower and I come out and it's raining, I'll be sad and frustrated. I'll be angry and irritated, right? That's what the unenlightened mind does. What an enlightened being would do when they wake up in the morning, they're already happy. They're already peaceful. There doesn't need to be any condition met in order for them to be happy because they have unconditional happiness and joy in their mind. And now when they see it's sunny outside, it's like, sweet, I'm going to go hiking today. This is going to be a great experience. I've been interested in going on that trail for a long time. And now you go take a shower, and when you come out, it's raining. Say, it's raining. Well, guess I'm not going to go hiking today. I'll stay home and read a book. Maybe I'll go to the mall. Maybe I'll invite my friends over. We'll have dinner together. Because they didn't base their happiness on the sun, when there's no longer sun, you can maintain your happiness, you can maintain your joy. So that's what you would like to get to, that you can learn how to enjoy life and enjoy the things that you're doing without conditional pleasant feelings. And that can sound very odd for someone who hasn't done this training, because in the unenlightened state right now, you enjoy things when you're having conditional pleasant feelings. But when you have painful feelings, you don't enjoy that, right? So what you would like to be able to train your mind to be able to do, which the Buddha teaches you how to do, is to learn how to enjoy all aspects of life. If it's sunny outside, you can enjoy that. If it's raining outside, you can enjoy that. If you stay home alone, you can enjoy that. If you go outside with friends, you can enjoy that. That's what it means to be able to get to unconditional peace, unconditional joy. So yes, you need to get rid of those conditioned pleasant feelings, because it's part of the problem. It's part of what's keeping the mind in this unenlightened state. And then you can get to the unconditioned happiness and joy.
So can I understand this way? It's just like I use my extreme happiness to exchange with extreme sadness to get to a middle value.
Can
To
you say
stay
again?
peace.
Can you say again?
It's just like a deal I make for myself.
Mhm.
I use my extreme happiness to exchange my extreme, to cover my extreme sadness. When I won't feel extreme happy, I won't feel extreme sadness or otherwise.
That's what people are doing in the unenlightened state. That you feel sad, right? So now somebody might turn to ice cream or cake or sex or shopping or gambling in order to be able to get to pleasant feelings. But those pleasant feelings are conditional. As soon as you don't have your cake anymore, as soon as you don't have your ice cream, as soon as you don't have your sex, as soon as you don't have your gambling or whatever it is, you're going to end up right back in the painful feelings. That's why when you say you don't have a boyfriend or girlfriend and you feel sad, you feel lonely, like, oh, I don't have a boyfriend or girlfriend. I really want a boyfriend or girlfriend. So now the mind starts craving a boyfriend or girlfriend and you chase after it, right? You're chasing and chasing and chasing and chasing. And then you get your boyfriend or girlfriend. You're like, yay, I got my boyfriend or girlfriend. I'm so happy. Yay. 6 months later, you're angry. They won't do things my way. They don't do it. You get angry and frustrated at that person, right? You end up right back in the painful feelings. But for a period of time there, you were happy for a period of time with your boyfriend or girlfriend. You were happy for a period of time, but eventually you're going to end up right back in the painful feelings again, because the mind's trying to base its inner feelings on something external. So the Buddha is teaching you how to train your mind to not do that. So there's not a way for me to teach that path to you in just 5 minutes or one class or something like that. So that's why I teach all these deeper courses in these other retreats, to be able to help students to really dive deep into understanding how to truly train your mind. This particular class is just to give you guys a little bit of teachings and give you an opportunity to ask questions. But yeah, you're trading your happiness and sadness here. If you allow your mind to get this happiness, yeah, you're going to get that for a period of time, but your mind's going to end up right back in the painful feelings. It's only a matter of time before you become annoyed or frustrated about something. It's only a matter of time in the unenlightened state. But by the time you get to enlightenment, you're always peaceful. You're always joyful.
So can I train my mind by cut off my extreme happy, like you just said, food, sex, gambling, this kind of happy, I cut them off so I can get my inner peace. Is that a way?
Yes, but there's more to it than that. Sometimes people sit here and they try to summarize the teachings, like, just tell me in 5 minutes, teacher, how to get to peace and joy. Not possible. If I could do that, I would truly do that, right? But it's not possible, right? So you're going to need to learn this particular teaching. It takes me 2.5 hours to teach it. And then students usually revisit it 5, 6, 8 times, right? It took the Buddha 6 years to get to enlightenment, right? It's going to take you some time. It's going to be a multiple year journey. But the beautiful thing is that it's a permanent solution. Once your mind's in that enlightened mental state, you'll never again experience the anger and sadness. And the beauty is that it's not like you're going to work for 6 years and then boom, you're going to instantly experience enlightenment. Instead, as you're making your way to enlightenment, you're going to be seeing progress all the way through. That's how this works. It's gradual training, gradual practice, and gradual progress. I've had some students in as short as 2 days, they're noticing differences in their mind, right? Sometimes it's multiple weeks, but you'll see progress to the condition of your mind as you're gradually walking your way towards enlightenment. But then there's going to eventually be a time where it's been 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. You haven't had any anger, any sadness, any frustration, and you'll know that your mind's enlightened at that point.
It's weird. you keep saying that we stay in an impermanent world. We shouldn't chase for permanent, but we are chasing for permanent inner peace.
No, you don't chase it. You just gradually make your way towards it. If you're chasing after enlightenment, you'll never get it. But if you're on the other side, where you could care less about what you experience in life and you're complacent, you're not going to experience improvement there either. Those are the two extremes. I'm not teaching you to chase after enlightenment. I'm teaching you to come to the middle and gradually make wise decisions towards acquiring this mental state. That's what would actually lead to your enlightenment.
So I change a word. I shouldn't use chase, but reach.
Yeah.
We can't reach permanent, right? Because it's an important word.
So there's something called conditioned objects. All material objects in the world are conditioned, meaning they are impermanent. Anything you can see, hear, smell, taste, anything that comes in contact with the body, or any thoughts or ideas that go through the mind, these are all impermanent. These are called conditioned objects. But then there's something called unconditioned objects. Unconditioned objects, they do not arise, they don't change, they don't fade away. Where a conditioned object, they arise, they change, and they fade away. So there's something called unconditioned objects. Enlightenment is an unconditioned object. It doesn't arise, it doesn't change, and it doesn't fade away. The mind is permanently in that mental state. You will never again experience any of these discontent feelings. And the natural laws of existence that the Buddha taught, those are also unconditioned objects. They don't arise, change, or fade away. This is why his teachings are timeless. The things that he taught 2,500 years ago is the exact same things today that'll lead to enlightenment that he taught 2,500 years ago, because these natural laws haven't changed. So getting to this enlightened mental state, you would like to gradually make your way towards it. And once you do, you'll experience the unconditioned mental state of enlightenment, where there's no conditions that need to be met in order for you to experience the peace and joy. If there's one student, if there's 20 students, if there's 100 students, if there's no students, you can still maintain your peace and joy because you're not basing your inner feelings on some external thing. Your mind is mentally trained and it's been essentially rewired to no longer base its inner feelings on external circumstances. This is what the enlightened mental state is.
I'm confused.
I'm sure.
When you say what on earth are we training? Are we training our brain? Brain is our organ, or our you just said mental
mind. Okay.
Statement. That's spiritual.
So
it's not physics.
So there's the brain, which is the physical organ. That's part of the body, right? But then there's the mind, which is non-physical. It's non-tangible. These are two separate things. There's a connection between the two, but they're completely separate. You're training the mind, this non-physical, non-tangible thing, right? And when you train your mind, it will have an effect to the brain. Like scientists are showing us that there's physical structures in the brain that are changing by training the mind. But you're training the mind, you're not training the brain. The brain is physical in nature. That's not something that you're training. But by training the mind, it will affect the brain in a positive way.
It doesn't sound scientific, but it's okay.
I'm explaining it very basic for you because you were confused, so I thought I would describe it very simply for you.
Okay.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Mhm.
My question is more about the relationship with our parents.
Mhm.
Sometimes our parents will have a great expectations on us, which will put us a very harm or a pressure, and this pressure will be constantly. So generally, how can we dealing with this harm or the sad the feelings, and in another way that because you are being acting as yourself, not acting as they're expected, which will cause them unhappy. So how can we dealing with our guilty feelings to feel unguilty about we causing them unhappy?
Okay. First, you need to understand you're not causing your parents to be unhappy. That's not what's causing them to be unhappy. They don't see it that way. And right now, you don't see it that way because of the mind's lack of wisdom. But if they are unhappy, it's their own mind that's causing that. They are craving for you to do things a certain way. And if you do it their way, they're happy. But if you don't do it their way, they're sad or frustrated or some other discontent feeling. That's their craving, desire, attachment. That's their wants and expectations. You're never going to do things your parents' way. And your parents are never going to do things your way because you're two separate beings. But your parents don't understand that because they have that lack of wisdom that the Buddha talks about, right? That misunderstanding. They think the way to get to happiness is to force you and control you to do things their way. And that's what they think is going to lead to their happiness. So when you see your parents are unhappy, you're not causing that. So when they're putting expectations on you, the best thing you can do is completely ignore it. Don't do anything that they want you to do. Even if it would be simple and easy for you to do, don't do it. Because it's like feeding a monster, right? If you feed this monster, it's just going to get bigger and bigger. I learned this very early in life. When I was about 17 years old, I was spending a lot of time with my guy friends, and my family came to me and they said, "Hey, David, you're spending a lot of time with your guy friends. We think you should have a girlfriend." And I said, I thought about it for a couple of months and I was like, okay, I'll go get a girlfriend. So I went and got a girlfriend. And then I started spending time with her. And my family came to me and they said, "David, you're spending too much time with your girlfriend. You should be spending time with us." And I was like, wow, you can't make these people happy, right? Because this was their expectations. They kept putting expectations on me. So I went to my family and I said to them, I said, "Hey, I just would like to let you guys know, my goal in life is not to meet your expectations. My goal in life is to do things the way that I think is best. And in some cases, that's going to be completely opposite of your expectations. And I just would like to let you guys know that I'm no longer going to be trying to fulfill your expectations." They were like, oh, right? Well, they kept trying to put expectations on me. They kept trying, but I just ignored it. I just did things my way. And my life got better and better. And I got more peaceful and I got more joyful and I got more happy because I was doing things my way instead of trying to live up to their expectations. So they also became more happy because they weren't putting expectations on me anymore. They weren't basing their happiness on me. So now nobody puts expectations on David because people know as soon as you put expectations on David, he's going to ignore it, right? But if I would try to fulfill their expectations, that's just going to get bigger. They're just going to keep putting more and more and more and more expectations on me. So if they're unhappy, which now my family is quite happy, but if they're unhappy, I'm not causing that. It's their own mind that's causing it. So the way you get rid of your guilt about what's going on with your parents is realize that you're not responsible for their happiness. You're not responsible for their sadness. They are. You're not responsible to fulfill their expectations. You need to live your life in the way that you would like to live it, free of any expectations from them. And if they would like to put expectations on you, that's their choice, but just ignore it and just build the life for yourself that you would like to build. Because when they're putting expectations on you, that's their selfishness, trying to control you and pressure you to do things their way. And you've got to break free of that from within your mind because you're used to being that little girl who looks up to their parents and does everything their parents tell them. Your parents say, clean your room, you clean your room. Your parents say, brush your teeth, you brush your teeth. Your parents say, go to school, you go to school. That's what you were used to growing up, right? But now you're an adult. You need to make decisions for yourself free of your expectations from your parents, and just understand if they don't like that, that's their own mind that's causing it, not you. That's how you get free of it. So the more you learn and practice this Eightfold Path, you'll get free of those expectations you're putting on yourself to be able to make your parents happy. That's what you're doing, is you're putting expectations on yourself that somehow you're responsible for your parents' happiness. But that's not true. They're responsible for their own happiness. You can't make your parents happy. It is impossible, because as soon as you make your parents happy, that means they are only going to be happy as long as you're doing that thing, right? Let's just say every month you give your parents $1,000. And let's just say they're happy with that. Every time you give them $1,000, they're happy. Well, as soon as you stop giving them $1,000, they're not happy anymore, right? That's conditional happiness. So you can't make your parents happy because that's conditional. And as soon as you stop doing those things, they're not happy anymore. So you're not interested in making someone happy. So my wife, she's happy, but I don't make her happy. My son, he's happy, but I don't make him happy, right? So they're happy inwardly because they've learned how to train their mind, and now they can be inwardly happy. If I'm with them, they can be happy with that. But if I go away on a trip and I'm gone for a month, they can be happy then too, right? So that's what you would like to do, is get to the point where people aren't attached to you and they're not attaching their happiness to you, and you're not attaching your happiness to them. So there's multiple things that you need to do to train your mind to get to that point. This is the starting point. Mm-hmm.
I understand that the outside world is always important.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So we shouldn't seek for the external satisfaction. We need to train our mind, right? But when it train our mind, when it led to some self-doubt, like, well, why can't I do this? Why can't my mind be peaceful enough?
Well, the Buddha helps you to understand why. The reason why your mind can't be peaceful is because it lacks wisdom. It just doesn't have the understanding of how to train it, right? Because there's the body, there's the mind, and the combination of these two things we call the person. So the person needs to gain the wisdom of how to train the mind. It just doesn't understand. Just like the person learned how to clean the body, the person needs to learn how to clean the mind too. So the reason why you can't be peaceful, the reason why you can't be joyful, is because the mind just lacks wisdom. It doesn't understand what it doesn't understand. There are certain pollutions that are in the mind in the unenlightened state. And when you uproot these pollutions out of the mind, then it can be peaceful, because the natural state of the mind is peace, it is joy. But as long as you have these pollutions in the mind, you can't experience that. So what you'll learn on the path to enlightenment is why the mind is not peaceful. And then when you understand those causes and conditions, and you independently verify that these things are true, then you apply the tools and the techniques to uproot those out of the mind. And as you're doing that, that's where you see the peace and the joy coming into the mind more and more. And you'll know that these teachings are 100% true, because they're actually working to produce more and more peace and more joy in the mind.
So when you train to be peaceful in this way, you can actually experience some self-doubt. You mean we need to accept that we sometimes may not be wisdom enough, wise enough?
From where you are today as an unenlightened being to getting to enlightenment, you need to be able to see that, yes, your mind lacks wisdom. There's certain things about this world that you don't currently understand. If you experience anger and sadness and frustration, that's your mind struggling to live in a world that it doesn't understand. That's why you experience stress and anxiety and frustration, because you're struggling, you're having difficulties. And the only reason why that's the case is because of its lack of wisdom. So between now and enlightenment, yeah, there's going to be a lack of wisdom. There currently is a lack of wisdom, and there will continue to be a lack of wisdom if somebody doesn't train their mind to be able to see true reality. But slowly but surely, as you train your mind and you cultivate wisdom, you will be able to see more and more true reality. And now by the time you get to enlightenment, your mind will be 100% wise. You will fully understand the natural laws, and it'll be completely transformed, and you'll no longer struggle. You'll no longer have stress and anxiety. You'll no longer have anger and sadness because you understand the world, right? You'll understand why people get up and walk away. Because of impermanence, right? People would like to go eat, or people would like to go see their friends or family, or they have some other appointment. They're not being rude. They're not being disrespectful. It's just a choice that they're making, and it's impermanence, right? Whereas if I was over here holding on and craving and clinging for permanence, I'd be struggling. I'd be upset. I'd be angry. I'd be frustrated, right? So by the time you get to enlightenment, your mind's not struggling or upset or angry anymore, because your mind is now fully awake, that your mind is cultivated wisdom. That's what it means to be awake, that your mind is now fully understanding the natural laws and how this world actually functions. But in the unenlightened state, you'll lack wisdom about how the world functions. And that's where you'll struggle, and you'll have anger and frustration and other discontent feelings. So yeah, you're going to have plenty of a lack of wisdom between now and enlightenment, but getting to enlightenment is to become awake, or where you've cultivated wisdom. And that's where you'll be able to fully see how the world functions, and your mind will be peaceful and joyful.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Hello, David. My question is, if our mind is peaceful, how do we know that the thing we're going to do is a wise decision?
This is based in the natural law of Gamma. Some people call it karma, right? What the natural law of Gamma is this cause and effect, or action and result. It's the results of your decisions. It's not anything mystical or magical. There's no being who's overseeing this. It's not about punishments and rewards. It's about understanding what are the decisions that are wise, that lead to wholesome Gamma or wholesome results, and what are the unwise decisions that lead to unwholesome Gamma or unwholesome results. So when we talk about awakening to enlightenment or cultivating wisdom, we've been talking a little bit about that. This is what you're cultivating wisdom about, is the natural law of Gamma, to understand what's wise or unwise, right? So we understand that it's unwise to go out and kill another human being. That's unwise. We understand that it's unwise to steal. We understand that it's unwise to have sexual misconduct where you're cheating on your partner and having sex with lots of different people. We understand it's unwise to lie or to take drugs and intoxicants. This is unwise things because it pollutes your mind. So there's many things that you can understand that are wise and unwise, and you learn that through the natural law of Gamma. That's what you're actually awakening to. But it's not rules. It's not commandments. It's not black and white. It's about understanding this natural law that's producing everything you experience. Everything you experience in life is based on this natural law. And that's what you're really, truly cultivating wisdom about. And that's what's going to give you the guidance of how to make wise decisions to produce wholesome results in your day-to-day life. But with a lack of wisdom, you'll tend to make unwise decisions, and you'll then experience unwholesome results in your day-to-day life. And that's where the mind then starts blaming other people, right? They'll say it's either good luck or bad luck, it's destiny or fate, or it's God or some entity called the universe, or they'll blame other people for the things that they're experiencing. When in reality, it's your own decisions that are leading to any particular result that you experience in life. There's no such thing as good luck or bad luck, or destiny or fate. This being of God or some entity called the universe isn't controlling us, and it's not other people that are causing us to experience what we experience. It's our own decisions that are leading to any particular result. And that's what the natural law of Gamma helps you to see. And when you cultivate that wisdom, then you can make wiser and wiser decisions, because by the time you get to enlightenment, you're only experiencing wholesome Gamma. Everything you experience is wholesome Gamma, right? You're not experiencing any unwholesome Gamma by the time you get to enlightenment. Yep, you're welcome.
Hello.
Oh, we got more? Okay, sure.
Okay. I grew up in a TV called
Central Area family, and where my mother told me from very young age that I should focusing on study, and maybe I can ignore everything else. Maybe I have indeed achieved some academic success, but my self-evaluation system mostly depend on studying. If I get a good grades, I think I'm successful. If I get a poor grade, I think I'm defeated. So even I suffered from depression. Maybe I nearly recovered. The first thing I pursue is the studying, the success of career or study. I know this is not right. I think the normal life and my basic life is more important. But the first thing I pursue is the success of study or career. Maybe I even can sacrifice the relationship or my happiness. I think I'm not happy. So I want to ask you that how can I break through this madness?
How can I what?
How can I break through this madness? I think
how can you break through the madness?
Yeah.
Right here. You need to learn this. Every single struggle that people are experiencing, the Buddhist teachings solve it all. The only thing that someone's struggling from is from the pollutions that are in the mind. It's the lack of wisdom. It's the craving, desire, attachment. If you train your mind to get rid of these pollutions that the Buddha discovered, you'll be able to put together a wonderful life for yourself. Each thing that you talked about, like having, you called it poor grades, there's a certain expectation of what you want as a grade, and you're falling short of that, and you feel bad because you have an expectation, right? But the world is impermanent. You're not going to be able to meet those expectations all the time. So not only does other people put expectations on you, but oftentimes people put expectations on themselves. And now they're angry or frustrated or feeling, guilty or shameful. I teach a lot. I teach extensively. I'm always teaching here in Chiang Mai. I teach online. I teach in other places. People ask me to travel all over the world to be able to teach. This past weekend, I couldn't teach. I couldn't come here on Saturday. I couldn't come here on Sunday. Those are the normal days that I teach. I couldn't come because I was sick, right? This body is impermanent. It was not healthy. It was sick. Doesn't matter how well trained your mind is, you're still going to experience sickness, aging, death, loss, and destruction, right? So I couldn't come here, but I didn't feel guilty. I didn't feel shameful. I was having a good time at home being sick, right? But now that I'm here, having a great time being here too, right? So as soon as you put an expectation on yourself of, I want this, sometimes you're going to get it and sometimes you're not, right? So if I put an expectation on myself that you have to teach every Saturday, every Sunday, you have to teach, it's not going to happen because of impermanence. So you're going to need to train your mind, and there's no quick fix for what it is that you're needing help with. You need to learn this entire teaching and gradually train your mind. I suggest people start with this first book, like I said.
Okay, I know. Thank you. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Still more questions? Wow, you guys are full of questions today.
Yeah, hi, David. I got a question regarding, because just now got a student asking about the loneliness, and then we can try to do ourselves alone. However, I think that the emptiness inside your inner is always there. So how are we going to deal with this emptiness?
It's the same thing. That emptiness is not always there. For an unenlightened being, they will experience that. But for an enlightened being, they don't feel like a lack of anything. Their mind is completely satisfied, completely content. They're living the ideal life. There's nothing about their life that they would actually change. They're living a wonderful life, right? But in the unenlightened state, you won't feel that way. You'll feel somewhat miserable. You'll feel like life is, quite difficult in some situations. So the only thing that's making you feel that way is that there's those pollutions that are in the mind. And it's this Eightfold Path that's going to train your mind to get rid of them.
So the pollution, I can guess that is from the outsider, maybe the information from the social media, whatever, all your friends. So we are trying to cut off all this kind of thing. However, when you cut down all this, people will start to comment saying that, you should be like hammer, you want to talk with other when you know. But you know that when you talk to this kind of people, they have some pollution affect you. So this kind of thing, how we going to set a border to stop? Like I still can recross with you. However, I build a border to make sure that the pollution is cannot affect me.
It's not other people that are affecting you. That's the lack of wisdom that the mind has in the unenlightened state. You'll think that it's other people that are causing you to experience what you're experiencing, but it's your own mind. It doesn't matter who I'm around. I can be around anybody and everybody, and I can be peaceful and joyful because my mind isn't basing its inner feelings on what other people choose to do, what the other people choose to say, all these other type of things. But right now, your mind doesn't see it that way because you haven't understood what's causing these feelings. So you're thinking that it's other people that are causing you to experience this, and somehow you got to put a border and a barrier between you and them. That will never get you to peace and joy. You've got to train your mind not to base your feelings on other people. When other people are doing things a certain way, you're happy. But when they don't do things that way, you're not happy. That's the craving for permanence, that you want them to look a certain way, talk a certain way, function a certain way. You're craving everybody to function one specific way, and you can only be happy if they do it that way. That's not true happiness. That's conditional. And the world is impermanent. Some people do it this way, but some people do it this way, and some people do it this way, and some people do it this way, and some people do it this way. So if you can only be happy when people do it this way, your mind's hindered from being able to experience peace and joy permanently. So there's no way for you to put a barrier between you and other people. You're going to need to interact with other people. What you need to do is train your mind not to base its feelings on what other people say and what other people do. That's what you need to do to get rid of the pollution of the mind. And as you do that, that's where the peace and joy is.
Okay.
Yep. You need to learn this. That's why I put it up there, because in this class on Wednesdays, it always comes back to this.
This one also can use for, let's say you got some, maybe we call it toxic partner.
I can't hear you.
The eight, or this path for the human enlightenment. Is it can use for the how we deal with our toxic partner or toxic, because like
the short answer is yes. But the problem that you're having there is you're labeling your partner as toxic. Right away, your mind thinks the problem is them. Right? What the Buddhist teachings do, this very first teaching of right view, it helps you to be able to see that the true problem that you're experiencing is inside your own mind. It's not the outside world. But as soon as you label your partner as toxic, that's your ego, that's your judgment, and that's your wrong view, thinking that the problem is them. Where in reality, your anger and frustration is your own mind. You're wanting and expecting this person to be a certain way, and they're not that way. And as long as you're longing, yearning, and craving for them to be this way, and they're this way, you can't be happy. So it's your mind craving them to be this way. And now the mind's ego will label them as toxic and say they are toxic. They're a narcissist. And now the mind thinks I'm the one who's good here and everyone else is doing things quote unquote bad. Where in reality, what the Buddhist teachings do is it helps you to look inward and address the problems within your own mind. But the ego has a hard time to admit that to itself, that it's really your own mind that needs help. It doesn't mean the other person's doing things wisely. The other person could truly be doing something unwise, but that's not what's causing you to be angry and frustrated. It's your mind craving everybody to do it this way.
Okay. And then another question is about, just now you mentioned about awake. So awake in here, right, like our different stage, when we have different experience, the meaning of awake is different, right? How we going to define this one? Like even now, maybe you feel that, okay, now I'm awake now, but in future you realize that, oh, it's not. So when you realize that you are not awake, then you will feel, like maybe sad or very frustrated, and then how we going to deal with this one, and then how we know what is the awake.
Are you saying ego? Is that what you're saying?
No.
Huh?
Awake.
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 Oh,
Yeah.
okay. So to be awake means that your mind has fully cultivated wisdom about the natural laws of existence and how the world truly functions. And that's what the Buddha teaches you in his teachings. So to be awake means to have cultivated wisdom, and your mind is now in the enlightened mental state where your mind, I don't know if you're here at the beginning when I was sharing how the enlightened mind experiences peace, calm, serenity, contentedness with joy, that you don't experience anger, sadness, frustration, all those other feelings. Your mind's focused, you have concentration, clarity, a deep memory, all your relationships are harmonious. This is someone who's awake, right? That their mind can't even be in a bad mood anymore. It's physically impossible to experience a bad mood when your mind is awake. To be asleep is to not understand how the world truly functions. So, for example, when you labeled your partner as toxic, right away, I know your mind's not awake because you don't understand that the problems that you're experiencing is not from your partner. It's from your own mind. And right away, when someone labels somebody else as toxic, I know that there's ego in the mind, that you're judging somebody else and you're judging them as being toxic and you're labeling them as being toxic. So this is an indication that your mind still has ego, that it still is not awake, that your mind thinks that it's other people that are the problem. So when you awaken, slowly but surely, you will understand the true reality of how it's your own mind that's causing all of these feelings. It's not the outside world. You get that in the very first teaching of the Buddha, this right view. You learn that it's your own mind that's causing these feelings. And you learn it in a way that you can independently verify because it's not based in belief.
Because awake is the moment we feel that we are
I'm
awake.
having trouble hearing you.
Because awake is the moment we feel that we are awake. So awake also is the impermanence.
No, once
No.
somebody is awake, the mind is now permanently in the enlightened mental state because their mind is now awakened. And this is a gradual process. It's not just an instantaneous thing that happens.
Because sometimes you feel like you awake now. Maybe it's like few years later, you will think that the awake moments in few years back is maybe it's wrong. So in this stage, so it's not possible in this way.
By the time you get awakened, where your mind is enlightened, you will know that your mind is awake because it'll be 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. You don't have any anger, any sadness, even the slightest little bit of ickiness in your mind. It just doesn't exist. And you'll know that your mind is awake because you've put a lot of work and effort in order to get there. It's nothing mystical or magical. It's not like you're just sitting somewhere and then wham, somebody hits you with a lightning bolt and you're now awake. That's not what it is. It's gradual training, gradual practice, and gradual progress that you would have independently verified several teachings of the Buddha, and you would have actively trained your mind over a consistent long-term period to get to this point where your mind is awake. And what you're going to see is that your discontentedness is gradually diminishing. Where like right now, you might get frustrated or annoyed several times a day, right? In the unenlightened state. But as you train your mind gradually, that'll start to change. It'll be once a week that you get frustrated or agitated, or it'll be once a month, and then it'll be once every 2 months, and it'll be once every 3 months. And slowly but surely, it'll become longer and longer and longer that you're becoming agitated or annoyed. And then eventually it's going to be 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, not even the slightest ickiness in your mind. And that's how you'll know that your mind is awake, because you don't experience any anger or frustration. All those discontent feelings don't exist in your mind, but it will have been through consistent, dedicated determination and diligence that got you to that point.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. You know, sometimes I come here and nobody has any questions. And then other times I come here and there's tons of questions like today. You have a question too? Yeah. What's your question? Okay. So for those of you guys online, the question was, how do we balance the mind being pure and polluted? And if there's something that's polluting our mind, won't that keep reoccurring? That's kind of your question, right? Yeah. Okay. So the reason why the mind is not pure is because of its lack of wisdom. Because the mind lacks wisdom, it's not pure. It doesn't know how to clean itself up. Like, for example, when I mentioned the 10 fetters, those are the pollutions. The average person doesn't even know what those are. They have no idea what the 10 fetters are. They don't understand, how to get rid of them. They don't understand the symptoms of these fetters. They have no idea that these even exist. The mind walks around with this lack of wisdom, firmly believing that it's the outside world that's causing these feelings. So the mind's lack of wisdom is what keeps it in this pollution. It keeps it continuing to experience anger and sadness and frustration over and over and over again. So that's why the path to enlightenment, nothing is based in belief. You need to be able to independently verify each one of the teachings. So one of the things you need to learn is, what are these 10 pollutions? What are the symptoms of them? How to eliminate them, and how to know that you've actually eliminated them. So the way that you purify the mind is you cultivate wisdom. And that's what it means to be awake, is that you fully cultivated wisdom to actively train the mind and get to this point where it's completely peaceful and joyful. Just like you learn how to clean this body, you need to learn how to clean the mind. But right now you lack wisdom of how to do that. So that's what you need to do on the path, is cultivate this wisdom. Yes, but eventually when you fully purify the mind, it'll be fully purified. It's impossible for it to become polluted again. Once you purify your mind, it's not possible for it to become polluted again. It's not possible because the mind has now fully cultivated wisdom and it's been fully trained. The mind's been fully purified. What's that? It's been purified. By the time you get to enlightenment, the mind has been purified and it's impossible for it to become polluted again because the mind has been completely transformed. So once you uproot these pollutions, they won't ever come back again. Okay, we can talk a bit after class. I think it's probably time to end class. Oh my gosh. Yeah. It's 11:30. Yeah, on Monday at 9 a.m. It's for 1 week. Yes, each day. Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, you can just show up. There is a way to sign up, but you don't have to. You can just show up. Mm-hmm. All right. All right. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I do. It's in chapter 16 in this book. Mm-hmm. This class is just a question and answer question. Mm-hmm. That's part of what you need to purify. The ego, so these 10 fetters, these 10 pollutions that are in the mind, there's 2 fetters that we call the ego, because the word ego didn't exist during the lifetime of the Buddha. But out of these 10 pollutions, there's two of them that we are referring to as the ego. But the Buddha taught how to eliminate these. So if you eliminate these 2, you have eliminated the ego. You've dissolved the ego. Mm-hmm. I don't use this term because it means different things. Because it means different things to different people. But when the mind is completely purified, that's when it's actually enlightened. And what it's got to be purified from is these 10 fetters, these 10 pollutions. Mm-hmm. Yep. Okay. So I'll just say goodbye to those of you guys that are left. Thank you for being interested to learn the teachings. There's lots of opportunities for you guys to learn more. You can check out our bulletin board. You can check out our website. You can come talk with me and I'll help you get plugged into the resources that you need to keep learning. So whatever you choose to do today, have a lovely and wonderful rest of your day. We'll see you next time. Sawadee Kap. Sawadee Kap. Thank you again for watching. Enjoy your meditation. Look forward to seeing you online and answering any questions that you might have. Thank you so much.